is it Senator Roberts or is it Mr. Roberts? Still Senator Roberts. Well, congratulations. You had a great week. Well done, Malcolm. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'd like to introduce you to the leader of the Liberal Democratic Party in Australia. There are two, there's only two, isn't it, at this stage, two representatives in various parliaments. There's the Senator Leyonhjelm, David Leyonhjelm here in the Federal Senate, and we've also got Aaron Stonehouse in the Legislative Council in Western Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, please make David Leyonhjelm welcome. And Malcolm Roberts has attended a couple of Living Works events, and I'm so pleased to see him here as Senator Roberts. Most of you are aware that he is a senator with Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party, and I know there is a divided opinion amongst attendees here about the party, but I can assure you that Senator Roberts in the main, considers himself a libertarian. He considers himself a free marketeer, and I think he's on the side of most of the freedom issues that we care about. So please, would you welcome Senator Malcolm Roberts. First question to you, David Leyonhjelm. Look, we've just had a session on essentially freedom being under attack. In 30 words or less, how do you think we can defend freedom and take back our rights?
Yes, freedom is under attack. We are losing at the moment. The nanny state is growing, the tape is growing, taxes are going up, and we're not really making very much progress. So, how can we fight back? Well, I don't know any other way other than by reason and logic and facts and arguments. I'm happy to translate those arguments into emotional points of view. And one of my favourite techniques is to find a victim of the bad policies that I'm arguing against. I think we should do a little more of that.
Thank you, David. Malcolm, would you like to have a crack at answering that question?
Sure, I agree with David. We are under attack. We've been under attack for at least 70 years, and our Constitution's been under attack since it was implemented in 1901. The things we need to do, much the same as what David said, we need to speak up. We need to speak up very, very bluntly and boldly. And that's what I love about Pauline Hanson. We need to reflect what the people are saying, and so we need to listen, number one. And then we need to speak up very strongly, and we need to encourage people to stop voting for the Tide-L party, because both of them are driving the suppression of freedom in this country.
Thank you. Look, we're going to throw the floor open to you. So feel free to throw your answers at either of the senators. I'm not going to send the mic around. We're going to be quick about this. Lee, would you like to kick us off?
Yes, this is both of you. In order for the libertarian group to succeed, we believe we need to focus on the moral background when it comes to policies.
Well, as the Libertarian Senator, I'll answer that one before Malcolm, but if we were to take just Libertarians to say vote for us, there wouldn't be enough to, enough to do much. 1 or 2% of the population are consistent Libertarians. 1 or 2% of the population join the dots and say freedom for thee as well as for me. So we can't do it that way. We cannot do it that way. What we have to do is gather up people who believe in freedom on an issue and say support us on an issue, and then we hope that over time they will recognise that there are other freedoms that are also at stake, and it's also part of a broader need to embrace freedom per se. But Donald Trump didn't get elected by people who believed in libertarianism. The Libertarian Party in America attracted a piss-poor vote, but Donald Trump did get elected by people who wanted to be left alone by the government. There are a lot of people in this country who want to be left alone by the government, and if we gather them all up, they will amount to a substantial constituency.
I didn't get your name? Leon. To answer your question, we need to approach it both on factual grounds and on moral grounds. And we also need, I think, to change the message. Instead of going on the attack or going on the defence, we need to be very, very proud of being human. And one of the signature signature values humans have is freedom. It's just a natural part of the universe, Leon. We can see it all around us. So we must have the facts, because the control side of politics, that's the Greens, the Labor Party, and sadly much of the Liberal Party, they have been pushing opinions down our throats. They have been marching slowly through all of the institutions of public institutions, the government agencies. We can't trust any of them. The universities, we can't rely on the universities. So what we have to do is make sure our argument is based in fact, make sure it's based that in ways that it will appeal to people rather than putting people down, and be very, very positive and absolutely determined.
So in 2019, you're both going to be up for re-election. So with the new voting system, without group voting tickets, how are we going to get these single issue voters to vote for us when they just have to put a 1 to 6 above the line?
Yes, I will be up for election at the next election, 2019 presumably, if Malcolm retains his seat, if the High Court decides that he's still a senator after they've reached their decision, and he also will be up for election. Under the new Senate voting system, the minimum you're required to get elected is a bit over 6%. So either One Nation in Queensland, Liberal Democrats, New South Wales or elsewhere, and the same goes in all the other states, will require a minimum of 6.something%, 6.2 to 6.3%, in order to retain their seat as the last man standing, or last person standing out of the 6, assuming it's a normal half Senate election. So it's a big challenge for small parties. It also means that new parties that have never had a go at an election previously, are almost out of the race before they start. So we think the ticket will get smaller because of that. So it will actually be a smaller ticket, easier to find the parties that will really attract the votes. That's obviously the real question.
One of the things we have to do as small parties, I don't think we need to amalgamate, because there are certain things that the Liberal Democrats are unique with, certain things that Pauline Hanson's One Nation are unique with. We need to stay separate, and I think though we need to cooperate much more effectively than we have been cooperating. And I'll give you an example. At the last election, for example, the last senator elected was Nick McKim. Now I could ask for a show of hands as to who would like to see Nick McKim stay in the Senate. But the Family First candidate in Tasmania recommended that the Family First preferences be given to One Nation, directed towards One Nation, and Bob Day, so I'm told, did not agree. If we'd have got the Family First preferences, we would have had a One Nation senator in Tasmania instead of Nick McKim. We have got to do a better job of cooperating with each other at every election.
On that point, on that point, Senator, the Queensland elections are going to be a mind focuser for One Nation and all the Conservative groups. It seems that the best analysis is that with the new preferential system, there's a real chance, probably a probability, that Labor will get home in some seats on the lowest first preference vote, because the parties, the Conservative parties, are effectively going to deny each other either of them being successful. Now, One Nation just announced its policy that in Queensland it's going to put last every sitting member. When I read that, it seemed to me that what you're effectively doing is making every sitting member your enemy, and I can't see why that's a good idea.
Well, I can't speak authoritatively on that, because I've not been told that's our policy. Maybe Barry might want to say something, but as I understand it, there's only one party that's allocated preferences so far, and that's the Labor Party, and said Pauline Hanson's One Nation last. That's the only party that's done a deal so far. As far as I know, we'll be looking at the best candidate in each area, and I've not heard of anything other than reading it in one of the papers That's what One Nation doing. So I wouldn't want to confirm what you just said.
We've got a wealth of good ideas from various things at this conference. But you put a single takeaway message. Do X or don't do Y. Please.
Yes, tell the truth. That's the simple thing. Andrew yesterday talked about energy policy, and he prefaced it. And this is not. I have enormous respect for Andrew. He's reached out to me. He supported me. We supported him. I have enormous regard for Andrew. But when someone with Andrew's conviction yesterday said to a group of people that the scientists are telling us that the science is in showing that human carbon dioxide affects global warming, then we've got a serious problem. Because 97% of scientists supposedly say that. But when we do the actual research on that 97%, when you look at the actual numbers, comes down to 0.3%. Is your name John?
Yeah.
0.3%, John. And none of those 0.3% has any evidence that human carbon dioxide is affecting global climate. None at all. So what we have to do is either shut up or speak up based on the facts. Because we will win the argument on the facts. We'll also win the argument on moral grounds. And we'll also win the argument by appealing to people's sense of mateship, fairness in this country.
So your question was, is there one thing we can do, one thing we can say that will make a difference and transform things? No, politics is way more complex than that. But I do think that there is, you can make it appealable to more people by keeping it as simple as possible to people who know political tragics. And everyone in this room, I'm sorry, you're all a political tragic. And that is, leave me alone. I think there are large numbers of people in this country who don't want anything from the government in particular, but they would like to be left alone. And that means to run their businesses, look after their families, work, whatever. And the biggest threat to what they would like to do is coming from the government, and they just want to be left alone. And there are, shooters, motorbike riders, fishers, small business people, all sorts of categories of people who don't want anything from the government. They don't want the government to do anything to them. And if I had to choose from all the possible messages that I could deliver, and it never comes down to that, if I could choose, or had to choose just one, that would be it.
Take two more questions.
The problem we have, maybe, David, and I'm sure you'd agree with this, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth because you're very independent, so that's not possible. But the fact is that so many people now are living off the government that, as someone put it yesterday, the people pushing the wagon will soon be jumping in the wagon because the majority are already in the wagon getting free ride. That is a really serious issue that we have to face in this country, and we can only do that by standing up and speaking up. I know, for example, that the One Nation supporters have a moral compass and a very strong work ethic. That's generally what our supporters have, and they're not in favour of the welfare system. The welfare system is cruelling this country. We've got a welfare system at the individual level, at the family level, that is drawing more and more people onto just voting for the status quo, which is just sucking off the government. And we've also got a welfare system at the federal level, because we now have more than 50%, for the last 20 years, we've had 30 years, we've had more than 50% of the state's revenue coming from the federal government. Shire Council out of St George, Darren and I were out there earlier this year, they have 73% of their revenue coming from the federal government direct, and it's tied to conditions. So we have got a central government in this place, even though that's one of the major priorities for our forefathers, in saying we need a system of federal system of independent sovereign states. Now those states are now on welfare through the GST. We are paying some states to not develop their resources, and the rest of us are paying for that. And so we have to be very, very careful as to how we go about it, but we've got to expose these things because welfare is killing this country.
Okay, last question, very quickly.
David, I'm hoping that your belief in smaller government means that you're going to be working towards fewer politicians that are people right. I haven't read the book yet, but I'm hoping to see something in there
yes, I'm absolutely in favour of a small government. But if you abolished every politician, or they all worked for free, everyone in this country, you would save bugger all in terms of the overall budget. It is not a significant cost to the budget. And my view is democracy is important. You know, Winston Churchill's famous saying is democracy is the worst form of government apart from all the other ones that have been tried. Do you have a better, cheaper way of running the country other than democracy? And if you want good people in Parliament and not just time servers or people who are there for their own benefit, I think there's a good argument for paying them. In fact, there is an argument for paying them more. Singapore went through a phase where they were paying their senior government leaders a lot of money. You know, you have all sorts of debates about that, but the point is, democracy is still probably the best form of government that we know of, and democracy costs money. Some states in America don't pay their state politicians at all. Some only pay them a very small amount, and some at the other end pay them quite healthily. I'm not sure that there is any evidence to suggest that either works better, and it depends on what criteria you apply. But in Australia, I hear this argument all the time that politicians have got their noses in the trough and are only there to serve themselves. And there certainly are politicians who have that outlook on life. I am continually dismayed at the discussions I have with some politicians who say, I'm frightened of not getting elected because I don't know how I'd ever get another job. But then we have politicians like Malcolm Turnbull, who is absolutely not there for the money, very clearly not there for the money. And yet, you know, do we want more like Malcolm Turnbull? That's a good question. I don't really think that point about how much politicians get paid or how much they spend in order to do their job matters very much. We have a $460 billion budget in this country. We've got a $40 billion deficit, a national debt of around about $600 billion. And politicians themselves, what they cost, are a very, very tiny fraction of that.
What's your name? Jen. I don't think it's salary is the key word. I think accountability is the key word. I said when I was announced the last candidate to get across the line in Queensland that I had three issues: accountability, cost of living, and security. Security both economically and also personal safety. Accountability is number one. I don't know David's opinion of this, I can guess, but I don't see much accountability at all in federal parliament. It is the most damaging building in the country. So it needs to exist, federal parliament, for defence, foreign affairs, maybe some control of excise, some communications, and there's one other, I can't remember what it is, but they're very limited roles for the federal government. But we must get accountability in federal parliament, and that's where David's been very good, because David does ask the questions. I ask the questions, Pauline Hanson asks the questions, some of the minor parties ask the questions, but the Liberal and Labor Party, both the Tidal parties, don't ask questions. They just perpetuate the system. So if we want to make something that's broken and we want to fix it, then we must start getting it back to what it's supposed to be doing, and that is serving the people.
All right, thanks very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to really sprint out of here, so it's a 30-second challenge. Before we do that, I'd like you to thank Senator Malcolm Roberts and Senator David Leyonhjelm.